right, so we are live at Earth Action Hub. Welcome to the inaugural event of Earth Action Hub. My name is Riza, and I am part of the organizing committee. And it is such an honor and a pleasure to have everyone here today, all of our participants who are watching, all of our speakers who are here with us for the opening ceremony, and everyone else who has made this possible. It is a crazy time in the world, and it's been a difficult year. So we are extra grateful that you have taken the time to join us here today, and hopefully for the next 2 days as well, to participate in Earth Action Hub. To all our participants from around the world, you can tell us where you're joining from in the live chat below this video. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us. I'd like to thank briefly our host, the Foundation for Environmental Education, and our co-host, Force Weavers, for truly making this project and this event possible. And we're very grateful for that. We'd also like to shout out to the team at Reframed, who have tirelessly answered all of our technical questions and made this platform and this website a possibility for us. And with that, I will pass it on to Jessica. And I just want to say thank you to the whole Earth Action team. I'm so grateful for all of you for making this possible. And I'm very excited to see this event starting off.
Thanks, Riza. We thought it would be nice to quickly introduce our team and the roles that we've been playing at Earth Action Hub. You may have seen some of our faces on the website or social media, but we just wanted to make that human connection and introduce ourselves. So I'll start us off. I'm Jessica, and I'm from the UK, living in London, the capital. And my role has been mostly social media and communication, a bit of the press as well, and also helping to organise the volunteers. So I will pass it on to Paola next.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, I'm Paola, Bay, Italian, but been living in London, UK for a long time. But frankly, I consider myself an indigenous of the planet. And I've been, with Earth Action Hub from the beginning, taking care of some of the funding, some of the partners, some of the speakers, some of the other bits and pieces, as we all have been doing a little bit of everything in the end. And I'm also the founder of Force Weavers, and I'm very grateful to be here with all of you, also whoever is viewing, wherever you are on the planet. And now I pass it to Christina.
Thank you so much. My name is Christina. I'm from Denmark and I live in Copenhagen. I work as an international coordinator of education at Foundation for Environmental Education. And I just want to take this opportunity to really thank the whole team of Earth Action Hub. We've never met each other in person, which I think is amazing, but we've managed to pull this project off together, and I'm really proud of what we've achieved together. And I'll pass it on to Barry.
Thank you, Christina. Hey everyone, my name is Byron Mclaughlin. I come from a small island just off the coast of Ireland, and I've been working part of the organising committee and also within the PR and comms team. And I'm super excited to share this project with you over the next couple of days, and a huge thank you to the team as well. So I'm going to pass on to Samia.
Hello everyone, nice to see everyone here. My name is Samia Gomez. I'm speaking from Brazil. I am a biologist and also passionate about community building and climate action. And I'm very honored to be here today among people from all the world. Hope you will enjoy this event as much as we did enjoy organizing it. And I'll hand it over to Hannah.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah. I'm based in Northern England. I joined Earth Action Hub as the volunteer manager. I'm also an environmental engineer, and I must say the sheer amount of work that everyone from the team's put into making this event what it is today is overwhelming and amazing, and it's so great to be here.
And I already introduced myself, but my name is Riza Hanselmann, and I'm based in Germany. and I've been helping with the event coordination and the parties.
Joanna, would you like to introduce yourself quickly? Because I know it's very early for you.
Hi everyone, my name is Joanna. I am from New Zealand, so I'm hoping that you'll have a wonderful time. And yeah, thank you for the team for letting me be a part of this, even though we are thousands of miles away.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, team. So yeah, over the past 6 months, we've really bonded as a team, but despite never actually meeting in person, which is quite crazy because, as I'm sure you're all aware, over the past year, it was not a normal year, and the global pandemic really did change all of our lives. And this meant that climate conferences and events and action were put on hold. But we found a silver lining of COVID-19, and it highlighted to us the need for a different type of climate event, one where there are no barriers, there's no barriers to access. So we decided to take our climate event online and open it up to everyone and anyone. So some of our core values at Earth Action Hub are positivity, because we know that climate change is a very depressing and overwhelming topic. And we want to inspire people by sharing their stories of action around the world, and hopefully that will inspire you to take action as well. We wanted to bridge the gap between the global north and south and really focus on giving a voice to the global south, because we know that these are the communities that will sadly suffer most from the consequences of climate change, and we wanted to give their voices a platform. We wanted to be intergenerational. We know that young people will probably carry most of the burden of climate change, but this doesn't mean we can't work together with the older generations, because we all call this planet home. And lastly, obviously, climate action. So yes, there will be a lot of talk this weekend, but we really hope that this will transpire into real climate action. So enough from me, let's kick things off. I'm going to hand over to Paola, who's going to introduce our incredible speakers with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Yes, we would like to see that after these 3 days, everyone feels a superwoman, a superman, a super something that can change whatever is happening on our planet and extinguish the fire together. So today we have some truly incredible, really special speakers from different parts of the world that are already changing their community, they're already changing their country, and somehow they're changing the planet with their example, with their sheer power. I'm really in awe of all of them, and we're very grateful to all of them to be here with us, sharing with us all their knowledge, stories, experiences, and whatever important message they need to share with us. And we have with us today Elder Dr. Dave Cruchen from Turtle Island, Canada, Princess Esmeralda of Belgium, Watatakalu Yawalapiti from Brazil, Shina Tama from Seychelles, and we have Cindy Lee Cloete from South Africa, Stephen Mungee from Kenya, and Paola Antonelli from Italy and United States. So thank you very much for everyone for being here with us, and we ask Elder Dr. Dave Cruchen to please start sharing with us his most incredible wisdom that always blows me away when I listen to him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bonjour, Annie. Nene magane tak nigani aki nene ndigo kinyundo dem saging donji anishna bendo. I am indeed honored to help with the opening. In the lodges of our nations, we are not to overstep the spirit. Spirit always acknowledges the beginning. In order to receive the best that life can offer, we offer words of appreciation and gratitude for our blessings. In my prayer, I ask for young people to become unified in taking care of the earth, creating a foundation for a new paradigm in the world. you must be initiated by Mother Earth to feel the kindness that comes from the land and to realize your duties and responsibilities to be true caretakers. I will now offer a prayer for you in my language. Kijemanido kinanakumen. Atso kan enda son danimak. Kinanakumen nenem. Niteake kinanakumen. Atso kan enda son danimak. Kinanakumen nem. In recognizing the interdependence we have with all of creation and nature, we must show compassion for all beings in the universe. We are not separate, but a part of nature. Our elders would say, not only are we a part of the land, we are the land. Much of the human population, particularly those of rich and industrialized countries, live a consumerist lifestyle that the earth is not able to sustain globally. All we need is a few committed to changing our current lifestyle, which can have a significant global impact. We are in a spiritual crisis as well as an environmental one. We have to return to the original instructions that we have all been given by the Spirit. We have to work together to create and rebuild, united in our efforts to support the natural laws of the earth. We must work together, relying upon the principles of oneness and unity. We respond to the call of Mother Earth with our hearts, our spirit, with the most powerful force of energy that exists, love and kindness. We need to reach into our own inner being. This is a spiritual quest we must make. Nature operates on the principle of balance. The four elements of life, earth, air, water, and fire, have to be in balance. Our human nature also operates on the principle of balance, beginning with the spirit, aligning with the other elements of the emotions, the body, and the mind. In life, we are surrounded by an energy. This energy is spirit that runs through the elements of life, earth, air, water, and fire. Every living entity has a spirit, a shining blue light inside. A tree has a spirit. And within the spirit of the tree is that shining blue light that defines the type of tree it will become with its unique purpose as a particular tree. And so it is for us as human beings. It is this shining blue light that defines our individual identity and how to be a human being, complete, with original instructions embedded in our DNA. We have to be open to the spiritual wisdom of all people and unify humanity with wisdom to love the land. We cannot destroy nature without destroying ourselves. We cannot continue to wait for other people to change. We begin with ourselves now. Together we can unite as one voice from the heart.
I think Dr. Elder Day Kushan got frozen. Hello? You need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Did you hear the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Elder Day Kushan. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking. Riza, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Princess Esmeralda of Belgium. who is a passionate journalist and author and environmental and Indigenous rights campaigner. Princess Esmeralda, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I have been working in conservation and the fight against climate breakdown for many years. But there is no doubt that we are now in a state of emergency, not only because of the pandemic, but because of the ecological crisis. But I also strongly believe that we have an incredible opportunity to not only avert the most catastrophic effects of the climate breakdown, but to create a much better, healthier, and greener world, both for people and for nature. COVID-19 has shown that fast action and radical measures are possible, and that we will only win the battle if we do it globally all together. And that definitely we don't want to go back to business as usual, to an unequal system that works only for a very few people on top. Because this is also, most of all, a racial and social crisis affecting disproportionately the poorest and most vulnerable and the countries of the global south that are least responsible for causing the climate breakdown. We are burning fossil fuels which contribute to global warming, removing our forests for logging, mining, and agriculture. Deforestation has reached a frightening pace and scale, destroying biodiversity and indigenous communities' livelihood. In Brazil alone, deforestation has increased by 30%. And a recent study found that in the last decade, due to the degradation, the Amazon released 20% more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere than it absorbed. We are also destroying our oceans, essential for our survival, as they remove carbon from the air, regulate our climate, provide our food and oxygen. The world's largest ecosystem is under extreme pressure from global warming, deep sea mining, plastic pollution, and industrial fishing, which has led to almost 90% of the world fish stocks to be overfished. And again, this is affecting people because millions of people depend from fish. Fisheries are crucial to food security, but the industrial fishing is wiping out ecosystem and destroying communities' livelihood. Despite promises and encouraging rhetoric, the world leaders are not acting fast enough, and fossil fuel corporations are still receiving massive subsidies in the range of 5 trillion per year. Although scientists and the latest International Energy Agency's report converge to say that if we want to remain below 2 degrees of global warming, all fossil fuel must stay in the ground, and we have to remove the existing one from the atmosphere. We have now reached 1 degree warmer from pre-industrial levels, and we are experiencing disastrous consequences with raging fires, increasing hurricanes, melting in the poles, flooding. For many islands in the Pacific, to stay under 1.5 degrees is just a question of survival. But the good news is that people are mobilizing around the world. Young people especially have been protesting all over the world in all cities, and their movement has put the emergency on the front page of the media. Entrepreneurs are getting convinced that the future lies in renewable and that we cannot continue this business as usual. The Pope, the Dalai Lama, and many religious leaders have declared that this fight against the climate crisis is a priority. Trade unions have said that there are no jobs on a dead planet. Artists are getting involved. Citizens have power. To quote Winnie Byanyima from UNAIDS, without active citizens, you cannot have responsible governments. So we have, in fact, a huge power to push for change, and it is happening. Under pressure, universities and museums are divesting from fossil fuels. Citizens' assemblies are being formed. Circular economy with zero waste system is being experimented in many countries and cities around the world. Projects and new ideas are flourishing on all continents, led most of the time by the youth. Nature restoration and rewilding programs are implemented. The Great Green Wall in Africa, a 4,800-mile barrier against desertification, is a colossal project but there are also thousands of community-led tree planting initiatives on the continent. Rural women are leading action to safeguard food production and improve productivity. And governments and local councils are being increasingly forced into court and condemned by the citizen for their lack of action and therefore their lack of protection of the people. Thousands of lawsuits have taken place, among other countries in the US, Germany, China, Pakistan. There is also a campaign to recognize ecocide as a fifth international crime, which could make possible to prosecute CEOs of institutions and companies funding, permitting, or causing severe environmental harm. The rights of nature is a theory gaining momentum as we grasp the damage inflicted in treating nature as property. Ecuador was the first country to introduce these rights in its constitution. Bangladesh has given legal rights to its river. New Zealand and a dozen other countries are also recognizing that ecosystems are not only resources to use, but living entities. The concept of Pachamama, Mother Nature, is at the heart of indigenous culture. Indigenous peoples have lived in perfect harmony with nature for millennia, and they are the best custodians of biodiversity, of which 80% lies in their territories. We need to learn from them. We need to work with them. Their knowledge is critical for mitigating climate change impact. Across the globe, they are showing us how to ensure food security and to protect biodiversity. Their insight on weather patterns and agricultural techniques have long impressed the scientists. We also need to have more women in decision-making position and at all levels in the fight against climate change, as they are often the first victim, but also possess valuable knowledge for adaptation and mitigation. We have been led to believe that there was only one viable political and economic model, and it has failed. It is only working for a few. The world's richest 1% have more than twice as much wealth as 6.9 billion people, and human activity is driving our planet to a breaking point. We need another vision which can reconcile the economy with more equality, justice, and our environment protection, in which we prosper, interconnected with one another as humans and with nature. And let me stress to finish that this is a very exciting challenge. With imagination and will all together across countries, across generations, in all our diversity, we can create a much better, fairer, healthier, and sustainable world. We have to act now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Princess Esmeralda, and I personally totally agree, more power to women and indigenous people. And that's why now we have wonderful Watatakaru Yawarapiti from the Xingu Indigenous Territory in Brazil talking to us, giving us a message. Very kindly, Paola will translate what she will say in Portuguese for all of us in English. So, Watatakaru has gone. So we give her a couple of seconds to come back because she is in an area with not very much connection. That's another thing. Most of our speakers are in parts of the world with very little bandwidth and connection. So we're deeply grateful of the extra effort they made to be here with us, because we know it's been very challenging for quite a number of them to be here with us. So thank you, Watatakaru, for being here with us. And it's your time to talk to us. Thank you.
Tenho que respirar um pouco, porque eu acho que é assim que o nosso planeta se sente, cansado, precisa de ar puro. Quero trazer aqui a voz e o grito da floresta. O nosso planeta precisa de todos nós. O nosso planeta está doente, está sufocado, está sendo morta. pela essa doença chamada ganância. Porque visado por aqueles homens brancos que hoje eu nunca vou entender. Talvez os meus filhos nunca entendam.
They'll never understand.
Apenas olham a nossa mãe terra como lucro. E nós, povos indígenas, não vemos isso. Quero dizer aqui, você jovem, você que acredita no futuro, melhor é mudar a nossa realidade. Pode mudar os seus pensamentos. Reflorestamos os nossos pensamentos, porque só assim poderá ser feito algo para mudar o nosso futuro. Nossos filhos, netos, tataranetos, não querem receber de nós essa herança triste, cheia de destruição. O papel de cuidar do planeta não é só nosso, não é só dos povos indígenas, é de todos nós que vivemos aqui. Cada gesto, cada ação, cuidar do nosso meio ambiente é válido.
Every gesture, every action we take to care for our environment is valid.
Tenho sentido as mudanças climáticas desde muito tempo. Eu não sabia nem que existia esse evento chamado clima.
Climate changes since I didn't even know that there was an event called climate.
Não porque alguém me falava desse evento, mas porque eu via. Não porque alguém mostrava na TV.
Not because I saw the news in the newspaper or on TV.
Porque eu sinto isso na pele. Porque a floresta me mostra isso. Porque eu vivo na floresta. E essas ações que o homem faz, ela é mostrado para nós que vivemos aqui diretamente no nosso dia a dia.
But because I felt and I feel this change in my skin, and I feel this change because I live in the forest, and the forest shows us this in a very quick manner.
Em nome do nosso povo, em nome dessa floresta, em nome do nosso planeta, que eu venho aqui pedir socorro para vocês. Precisamos cuidar do nosso planeta. Precisamos cuidar dos nossos sentimentos. Precisamos olhar futuramente como que vai ser. Porque não existe outra casa para todos nós. Se acaba para mim, se acaba para os meus filhos, se acaba para os meus bisnetos, acabou para vocês também. Então, eu podia estar aqui com a minha cultura, com os meus grafismos, com os meus colares, mas eu não posso estar aqui enfeitada se nós estamos vivendo em uma guerra, se nós estamos vivendo um luto. Eu estou aqui do jeito que vocês estão aqui, eu também quero estar. Porque essa casa, esse planeta, a nossa terra, a nossa mãe terra precisa de todos nós com os mesmos pensamentos, usando as mesmas roupas, usando as mesmas armas para proteger ela. Porque o nosso planeta está morrendo. Nosso planeta não está mais respirando. E esse papel não é só nosso. É o seu também. É de cada um de nós.
Planet is mine and of yours too, of each one of us.
Eu queria pedir aqui para todos os brancos do mundo que não veja só os povos indígenas como protetores do nosso planeta e que cada um de nós se sinta como protetor e que podemos fazer algo melhor para o nosso planeta. E é isso que eu venho dizer aqui para vocês.
This is the reason I came here to tell you this.
em nome da nossa respiração, em nome da nossa água que bebemos, vamos juntos lutar por um futuro melhor. Isso depende de cada um de nós. E não é os outros, não vai vir ninguém do espaço para salvar nosso planeta. É a gente que tem que fazer.
Come to this planet to save us. We have to do it ourselves.
Em nome do território indígena do Xingu, em nome dos povos indígenas do Brasil, em nome dos povos indígenas do mundo, eu peço isso. Venho pedir apoio para todos vocês, caraíbas, que possam vir nos apoiar nessa luta. Muito obrigada.
Thank you.
Thank you. Watatakalu, obrigada. I think you don't need to speak Portuguese to understand the impact, I think, and to feel the message behind your words. So thank you very much. Next up, we have Sheena Talma from the Seychelles. Sheena is a marine scientist and studies ichthyology. I can't pronounce it, my bad. But she works for Nekton Mission. Sheena, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen. And I think if I had one superpower in the world, it would be to understand all the languages so that we wouldn't have this barrier when speaking to each other, right? Imagine what kind of world that would be. And yeah, I think that all the speakers before me have just done such a great job at really illustrating the fact that we need to come together and there's things that we can do together to make our planet a better place. So as Reza has introduced me, my name is Sheena Talma. I work for Nekton Foundation, which is an organization based in the UK, but they do work within the deep sea and trying to do that in an equitable way. So if you want to learn more about that, you can join me tomorrow. We'll be having a conversation about our a bunch of different speakers' journeys. So please come to that as well. So I'll be talking a little bit about unboxing our ocean and just building from what the powerful messages have been so far. So for those who don't know where the Seychelles is, it's off the east coast of Africa, and it's a group of small islands, and they're made of granitic rock, which means they broke off Africa a long time ago, and they're also made up of coralline islands, which are made through volcanic action over a long period of time. So these are really old islands, and everyone that lives here is from somewhere else, and we've just come together and created this huge conglomerate of a population. But I actually don't like being called a small island state. I like the term that a lot of different islands are using now as a large ocean nation, because if you look, especially at the map, you'll see that we are surrounded by water. And I think the water and the ocean is a really great way of showing us how we're all connected. Now, as humans, we have a tendency of breaking down concepts and categorizing characters and putting things into boxes so that we can make sense of the world. But our ocean is a clear example of this powerful force that cannot be boxed. And one of the things I really love about the currents, like I said, is that it shows us how we're connected. Sometimes not in the best ways. As you can see, these are all man-made material that has landed on one of the islands of the Seychelles called Aldabra. Now, this island is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and this isn't being produced by the people that live on this island, because there's only 15 people living there, and they're there to look after it, to look after nature, to monitor what's going on the island. This is coming from everywhere else. It's being flocked to the island through currents off the southeast coast of Asia and Africa, but that rubbish is coming from everywhere else as well. So the thing that we can see with plastic is that it causes these effects. You can see it on the animals, especially. All of this is from that island. But there's a lot of plights that our ocean and our planet is facing that we can't see, whether that's pollutants in our ocean, overfishing, the effects of global climate change. And you should really follow these guys on YouTube. They create this content. It's from Scripps off the coast of the US, and essentially is showing you between 2012 and 2018 and how those coral reefs have changed over time. And that's the effect that we are having on our planet. But as we've said, it's not all bad. You know what the great news is? There are lots of people working together to make the world better, to make our oceans healthier. And I think that's what gives me a lot of hope. Looking at all the different faces here today, talking about how we can do a lot more to conserve nature and to look after it, not for the sake of conserving what's in our ocean, but for our own survival. I think one thing that's really important is that we always remember that we are part of nature, right? We are not removed for it. What happens in nature affects us. So humans have to be at the center of that and part of that change. Yeah, and I'm really excited to just hear from everyone else remaining and learning more about the great work that they're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sheena. Really, really interesting and beautiful pictures as well that you shared with us. And I know a lot of our participants are really interested in marine conservation, and certain documentaries at the moment are highlighting these marine issues. So it's a really relevant topic. So thank you so much. And make sure you join Sheena's session later on this weekend. So next up, I have the pleasure of introducing Cindy Klett from South Africa. Cindy is the General Manager of the Schools and Youth Unit at WESA, which stands for Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa. And she coordinates the Eco Schools, Learning About Forests and Young Reporters for the Environment programs in South Africa. So the floor is yours, Cindy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and greetings from South Africa. What a privilege it is to be here at the launch of the Earth Action Hub, and also to be in this amazing group of people with their powerful messages. And I hope that I can contribute to that. But before I do that, I just want to highlight that this week is a very important one for us. We just had the UNESCO ESD for 2030 conference this past week, where the Berlin Declaration was adopted. Personally, here in South Africa, I've seen 3 events locally hosted, basically looking at ESD and how we as a country need to embrace that. It was World Outdoor Classroom Day yesterday, and I think tomorrow is World Biodiversity Day. And today we have a group of young like-minded people launching Earth Action Hub that will basically serve as an inspiration and support for continued environmental action across the world. So a pretty big week for all of us. And I would like to situate that in this very important week in the context of a very important year for us. This year represents the start of the last decade until we get to 2030, and meeting all of our targets and all of our commitments that we've basically said we would. So I guess that every single week this year needs to become a very important one for all of us. And this is why the Earth Action Hub is such an important tool, a tool for knowledge, for support, a tool for global solidarity in our collaborative actions as youth. Yesterday, I realized again the power that we as the youth have. On my way to a launch of an outdoor classroom at one of our schools in Johannesburg, one of our eco schools in Johannesburg, I was listening to the radio, and the host invites South Africans across the country every Thursday to take part in a segment called Across the Desk. Yesterday, he had 2 children on this particular show, aged 11 and 15, and he just had a conversation with them. These 2 children had the entire country, well, all of us that were listening, eating out of their hands and hanging on to every word that they said. That is the power of the youth. And I'm so glad that I experienced that again yesterday. So if you ever wonder if you have any power as a young person, or whenever you feel hopeless, just remember those two young children from South Africa and take inspiration from them. As we launch the Earth Action Hub today, remember that the climate emergency is not static and its impact constantly shifts. Therefore, we need to be agile and flexible in our thinking and in our actions. In other words, our education cannot be static, and we need to embark on a journey of lifelong learning where we use our head, our hands, and our heart, and make sure that those are always evolving and growing. The head, where we form our information and our education, so the knowledge part of things. Our hands, the skills that we gain through the education that we get, that then in turn turns into action. And lastly, our hearts, that represents our attitudes and how those attitudes change through our education and through our actions. It's the connection that we have with our earth as well as with each other. So in saying that, it's important that we leave nobody behind. We all know this. But what does it mean for us as we start engaging on the Earth Action Hub? I have a niece that's 12 years old, and I don't get to see her very often, maybe 3 times a year. So whenever I do get to see her, I try and give her as much as information so that she's empowered to shape her understanding of the world. When she was younger, I remember she often asked me, so why didn't you say that in the first place? And that would be in response to me explaining something to her for the second time. Now that she's a little bit older, she tells me at the beginning of our engagements, if you have to explain something to me twice, you've already lost me. So I use that as a guide of leaving no one behind. And it's important that we create access to information, even in our training, and basically look at leaving no one behind. So when we engage on the Earth Action Hub, let's remember that. How we interact, how we make information available to people, that should be at the core of our foundation. Our indigenous knowledge systems and our intergenerational learning and sharing of practices, the things that make us who we are, those are important in our journey to sustainable solutions to climate change. I learned that in leaving no one behind, it is less about me coming to help or to save someone, but rather about us working together to collectively help ourselves and the planet. Everybody's handprints and fingerprints need to be on our collective solutions. Because when it comes from the inside out, it's more powerful than when it comes from the outside in. And that's something that we need to remember. Lastly, there's a phrase in the preamble of the South African Constitution that I want to share with us as we launch this important online space. It says, united in our diversity. And still today, us as South Africans get it wrong sometime. But in the context of this launch today, I'm raising this because sometimes it will feel overwhelming and we'll get anxious about the enormity of climate change and its impacts. And in these feelings, they might enable inability and keep us on the sidelines. But I believe in the power of youth united in diversity. It'll be important for us to support each other in as many ways as we can, and to never be afraid to ask for help. President Obama received advice from a journalist called Thomas Friedman that I would like to leave you with. He said, you can't be too honest in describing big problems, too bold in offering big solutions, too humble in dealing with missteps, too forward in telling your own story, or too gutsy in speaking the previously unspeakable. So let us at the Earth Action Hub start building a society we want to work towards a sustainable planet we need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy. I couldn't agree more. The youth is power, united with all the other generation. And here we have a young person who I feel is one of the most powerful I met in the last year. never met physically, but I have a great admiration for what he has been achieving with his own power, with himself, by his own self, and with his community. And I have great admiration for Stephen Mungee, who is going to speak to us. He's from Kenya, Nairobi. And whatever he says for me is very, very powerful and goes deep into my heart. Thank you, Stephen. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who's joined us today for this conversation. And what I believe is that to change the world or to deal with the many problems that we've inherited from a very oppressive past, that we have to start all this from conversations. We have to change our ideas of a better future, to see what is possible for all of us, what is possible for those who come after us. And at this point, I'd like to share in the words of Wangari Maathai. She says that we need to start from small actions. Wherever we are, we just do our small. And if you can convince everybody to do something small from wherever they are, we're going to be able to create an impact that is going to leave a mark for future generations to look up on, and that can inspire them to keep building a better world for everybody else. And why I share these words of Wangari Maathai, it's majorly because of my practical experience in terms of community organizing. And well, I'd say it's very difficult organizing from this end of the world. And I can imagine it's also difficult from everywhere else. And it's majorly, we reflect that capitalism has created a very entrenched oppression. And it's an oppression that not so many people understand. And that's why for our community, we need to do education. We educate a lot of the community members to first understand what is the problem. And when we think of climate justice, for us, it's an existential problem. It's what we were born and it's what we found. And it's what so many of us have been forced to live with. But community education and community reflection allows us to look and reflect with the older generation and think, how was it before? What has changed now until this point? And at that point, then we are made to think that things can be different, and things have actually been different. And I'd say things have actually been different all over the world. We are now at a point where, like in Nairobi, we are receiving very heavy rainfall. There's a lot of flooding. And for marginalized communities like mine, I live in Mathare, and marginalized communities all over Kenya are affected heavily by this flooding. And when it's not flooding, it's a drought. So we're living in between extremes, and not so many of us understand these extremes. And I appreciate the organizers of this session, because we are now able to see from all over the world what people think about climate justice. How is it affecting them? And how are they organizing to ensure that there are small actions from different spaces? And from my community today, I'd like to talk about resilience. And why I'm so concerned about resilience is because we organize in spaces where people are living on a day-to-day basis, trying to survive, and there isn't enough time for people to sit together like we're now sitting from all over the world, to think what is wrong, or what can we make different in our own community. And resilience is what allows people to think, okay, in as much as there's so much oppression, in as much as survival is very difficult, there's something that can hold us together to see a better day, or to see a better tomorrow, not just to say for ourselves, but also for our children. And I've been organizing for the last 10 years. And I started organizing immediately I left high school. And the main reason for this was because of very high numbers of extrajudicial killings. And from that kind of organizing, we've arrived to a point where we've realized it's not just about police killings, or at least police killings are related to so much more of other oppressions in our communities. And we are now organizing through a platform called the Mathare Green Movement. And the Mathare Green Movement started as a way to commemorate the lives of those who've been lost through police violence. And we built a lot of resilience for the families of victims, where if someone is killed, we plant a tree to continue their lives, to say, in as much as you've been taken away from us, that we can still have a spirit amongst us, and we will nurture this tree just like the community nurtured you from childhood. And from that, we've been able to rehabilitate so many damp places into small gardens, small people's park. And these parks are spaces of spiritual coexistence. We go there and we reflect and think, how many people have been murdered by the police illegally this week, and what can we do for these families? It's very difficult pursuing justice for victims of police killings, but we found a way of healing, not just for ourselves, but also for the family and also for the community at large, where we say we know we cannot bring them back, but they can continue to live with us through these trees. And beyond tree planting, we do a lot of community organizing, where we help build groups of young people in the community. And the idea essentially is to change what we see into what we'd like to see. And what we'd like to see we call Mathare futurism. And Mathare futurism is not just about Mathare, it's about Nairobi at large, it's about Kenya, it's about the entire Africa. And like we're speaking right now, our aim is to make it a global futurism, where we think, how is capitalism affecting residents of London? How is it affecting residents of Mexico? And how can we bring together our reflections? How can we bring together our organizing skills, our organizing communities, so that we speak about injustice and climate injustices all over the world, not just in where we live. And I like what Princess Esmeralda has said, and especially on the economic system. That the economic system that the world is built on is an economic system that keep crashing, keep suppressing the marginalized, the voiceless in the communities. And it's been a good journey for us in Mathare, where we've realized that voicelessness is not an option, and voicelessness is something that we can deal with. And we can deal with it by educating ourselves, where we say what's the future and how is the present, how is the future affected by the present that we're living. And we see this through our elders. In our group, there's an intergenerational link up, where we bring young children, and young children have proven to be the best in terms of tree nurturing. And we realized this through trying to deal with the issue of nurturing small forests, that older people, like I've said, have been pushed into economic survival. There isn't enough time to go and fetch water and say cultivate a tree. And we thought then what we can do is ensure that we have reservoirs and we can have safe spaces where we can get water. And then we educate our children. We have reflections every Saturday, where we sit down with the children and we discuss how many trees have we planted and what's our goal. And the children can even go around counting the trees and give the feedback back to us. And with every reflection, we've realized that the numbers keep growing. And the fact that the numbers have kept growing is to mean that the community's hope for a better future is alive, and that resilience is something that is building up amongst the community members day in, day out. And I'd really like to say to everybody else that climate injustice, from its global impact, that from our own small spaces as individuals, in our own hearts and in our own minds, that we think of better, that it's very possible, even with this global pandemic right now, that it's still possible for us to meet. Initially, we'd probably organize a physical meetup that would be very expensive and very time consuming. But now we've been able to realize that we can do more, we can have conversations, we can impact each other's thinking and each other's hope for a better world, even in a situation where the whole world is put on a standstill. So for me, it's just share this hope with you and to say that even from the most marginalized of communities, we're still hoping for the very best. We're still doing our very small initiatives to ensure that we change the world. And we believe that changing from Mathare is going to create a ripple effect to across the entire world. That will be it from me right now. And I hope to see you all tomorrow and we can continue with these reflections. Shukran.
Thank you so much, Stephen. You are truly, truly inspirational. And I love that you talk about resilience. I think it's a really important thing that we can all learn here, because we do need to be strong and there are some tough times ahead. So thank you so much. And yes, Stephen will be having a session. So please find that in the, and you can sign up and you can watch that. So our last speaker, I have the pleasure of introducing Paola Antonelli from Italy. And Paola is a senior curator at the Museum of Modern Art in the Department of Architecture and Design, as well as being the museum's founding director of research and development. Her most recent exhibition, Broken Nature, opened at the Museum of Modern Art in November 2020. She's also currently working on Design Emergency, which is an Instagram and book project that explores the role of design in building a better future for us all. So Paola, I'm going to pass on to you. Thank you very much.
My sister, my soul sister, Paola, for inviting me to speak here. I have to say, I have rarely found so many kindred spirits in one place as I have found them today in Zoom. And you might wonder, what is a museum curator, a design person doing in this assembly? Well, I am providing you with the enzyme to make everything happen, or at least to help you make things happen. What I have discovered in my career is that design transforms revolutions into life. Whenever scientists or politicians think up a new way for the world, designers are the ones that mediate it and make it into objects that you and I can use. The most famous example would be the internet. There used to be only lines of code that were available only to a few computer scientists and engineers and mathematicians, until the designers of the first interface, Mosaic, came about and introduced buttons and hyperlinks and windows, and all of a sudden the internet was for all, at least as it should be, and even my grandmother could use it. But I would like to say, going back to this idea of the kindred spirits around this assembly, I was very touched by what so many of you said, but I would like to start with the words that Sheena Talma mentioned, that there are a lot of people working to make things, the world, the ocean, and life better. And yes, we are part of nature. So that's what I will do with you in these 2 days, show you other angles. You know, Princess Esmeralda talked about the Great Green Wall and rights of nature. And it's very funny because just in the past few days, in the art podcast that MoMA produced, MoMA is the Museum of Modern Art, where I work in New York City, produced, taken from Broken Nature. And these are just two of the amazing crossings that I found with your discussion. Steve talked about climate injustice, and that's really the top the work of so many designers and I love architecture. It's called, the theme is, how will we live together? How will we live together with other peoples, with other species, and with other entities in nature and beyond nature? So you see architects from all over the world come together to discuss this. And I was involved in one project that you're going to find incredibly interesting that's called Future Assembly. It's trying to imagine what the UN of the future should be when it really takes into account all the stakeholders that should be at the table. And you can imagine, because you know already, how beyond and above and more than human they are. Also, yesterday in Lisbon, Everything Online happened. There was a convention called the Bauhaus of the Sea. For those of you that are not mired into design history, the Bauhaus is this very European, but at that time really very forward-looking school that happened at the beginning of the 20th century that really informed the way we think of design and architecture today, and all the arts coming together to build a better world. And the president of the European Community, Ursula von der Leyen, called for all of us to imagine a new Bauhaus for the future. Now, you might say maybe we want to make something less Eurocentric, but it doesn't really matter. The intentions are good. And this House of the Sea gathered many thinkers were thinking of the future and what this will mean to us about Bangladesh and Ecuador and Colombia and New Zealand really coming up for the rights of nature. But one of the most interesting things that happened in the past week is something very banal, that 5 bodies of water in Florida, United States, sued a developer. Can there be something more American, more from 5 bodies of water? So it's fascinating. The world is really changing. The world is changing, and the concept of understanding ancient wisdom in order to know how to move forward is paramount. Another artist that I hear, a university, an indigenous university in Colombia, called from the people of Colombia to make that happen. So it was not her dropping herself in and making it happen, because she has this concept of the indigenous scientist as the one that can really bring us forward in the future. So you see here, there's so much that offer you design and art as powerful allies. And you'll see with exhibitions, not only mine, but also by other curators and artists and designers, there's really the possibility of reaching wider audiences and making the urgency of what we are discussing even more clear and available to everyone. I look forward to spending these 2 days with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Paola, for those words. I think it's very interesting to connect design and an architecture with climate change and environmentalism. It's definitely an intersectional effort that needs to be happening. So a big thank you to all of our keynote speakers for sharing your time and your wisdom and your experiences with us. We apologize for the slight technical issues, but that is the reality of an online event. And we will be doing our best to get a clean translation of Watatakalu's speech as well. This will kind of move into wrapping up our opening ceremony, but I think, as Jessica mentioned at the start, a big reason for Earth Action Hub was to encourage people to take action, ourselves included. None of us are the perfect climate activists, but we're all out here trying to do our best. And so along these lines, we have created an action plan for all of our participants and our speakers and our partners to do if they would like. And you can find that on our website. And the purpose of the action plan is not to make you a expert environmental activist, but rather just to get you thinking about how we can all make small changes in our daily lives to contribute to a more sustainable future. And the hope is that at the end of these 3 days, that you will all share your action plans with us, and we will be able to then further share the action plans with other people seeking inspiration and motivation to also make some changes in their lives. And the action plans can be found on the Earth Action Hub event map, and you'll be able to find that on our website. So we encourage you all to look into that. And then I will hand it over to Jess.
Thanks, Riza. Last few bits. Just wanted to remind everyone that Earth Action Hub is more than just this weekend, and we have lots of other elements which are all accessible via our interactive map, which will help you to navigate around our virtual event this weekend. So we have explorations if you are maybe slightly competitive, and this will help to spur you on. We have an art space which has a movie theatre. After a long day of learning and interacting, you can unwind, and there's an art gallery there as well. We have a knowledge area where you can increase your knowledge on certain topics. And we have a safeguarding area, of course, because online safety is very important. We have a forum where you can talk about any topic you wish to with people all around the world. And we have a networking area as well, where you can, in a virtual space, talk to people around the world and connect. So lots of elements. We of course also have our talks, conversations and workshops happening this weekend. And just a small reminder to please refresh the page right before the session starts, and that will bring you the live stream of the talks and the conversations. So I just wanted to remind you of the sessions that are happening right away after this opening ceremony finishes. We have a conversation with Force Weavers, who is the co-host, which is a conversation between elders and youth. We have a workshop from COP26 and beyond, who are talking about green careers and how climate change will affect careers as young and old people. We have a workshop from it's called the Youth Leadership for Adaptation, and I know there are very incredible people leading that workshop. And we also have a conversation called Co-Building Hope, with 3 speakers talking about their stories of building homes around the world. So that's just the sessions coming up. Of course, there are lots of more sessions after that. So please enjoy all of our sessions. And I will now hand it over to Paola just to wrap it up. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. But thank you to all our amazing speakers. I will watch this video, the recording, many times over. That would be available on YouTube for everyone anyway. Thank you very much for these incredible people who have been building this Earth Action Hub, this team that has been working day and night. And I swear, on Christmas Day and New Year's Eve, we were on Zoom working. I'm not joking. I didn't mind. I love it. It was such a special bonding and creating something incredible from our heart, not just from our mind. And thank you for everyone who has been with us in this opening ceremony today. And I'm sure you're all like-hearted people. You're all like us. You all want to make a difference. You all want to be the change maker, because I feel most of you are already the change maker, are the special ones who are creating a domino effect, so everyone will make a shift in their life to extinguish the fire on our planet. So make sure to have fun the next few days. Enjoy it, because some topics will be very serious, but some topics will be very much fun. And most of our speakers are fun, not just being just serious with sometimes heavy subjects. We want people to enjoy the next 3 days, because we also have been enjoying doing it so far, and we feel that you will also. And I want to leave you with just a small story that was shared many years ago. The first time I went to Colombia to visit the Arhuaco people, who are now can consider my family. They adopted me. I'm very blessed. And the mamos, the spiritual leaders, told me about this little story. Many years ago, the world was on fire, with a huge fire, and no one could extinguish it. It was so big that all the animals were running away. They were very afraid. There was no other way but to escape it, to run away. And no one was trying to extinguish it. Then a little hummingbird, which, as you know, is the smallest of all birds, say, "Hey guys, what are you doing? Why you run away? Stop. We need to extinguish this fire. Our home is on fire." And everyone, all the animals, "Don't talk crap. We have to run away. There's no way. We are powerless. We cannot do anything." And little hummingbird say, "No, I can do it." So with little tiny Winnie Big, went to pick up a drop of water from somewhere, flew over the big fire, and dropped this really minute drop of water in the fire. And everyone saw the little hummingbird doing it. And they say, "Well, he did it. He's doing it. We can do it." And so everyone, all the animals, went to pick up some water, whatever way they could, and they drop it over the fire. And together they extinguished the fire and the fire was gone. So what I'm saying is we can all be that little hummingbird. We can all make that difference. Whoever we are, wherever we do, doesn't matter. You can do it. You don't need anyone to tell you what you can do it, because you're very powerful in your own self to make a big difference. And with this, I thank you really everyone for this super exciting opening ceremony. And we will see you in the next 3 days and next year, 2022. And for a long time, because during the year, we'll also have more sessions, more webinar, workshop, talk, conversation. We don't disappear for 12 months. We're always around. Thank you so much to everyone.